Hey gang, thanks for joining me for another knife review. This is the Buck Vantage Select Small. This is a little knife made by Buck, and it is a value knife for certain. This would be $25 US or 46 to 50 Australian dollars. I'll just go through the facts about it, the specifications, and I'll tell you what I like and what I'm not too bothered about, and what I dislike about the knife. So stay tuned. So on this knife you get a blade of 2 5/8 of an inch, that's 6.7 centimeters. It's made of 420 HC steel, and it is a drop point style blade with a hollow grind finish. It's made out of the 420 HC, which has the Paul Boss heat treat, which is something that Buck proudly declares. It does make the steel a little bit better. The overall length of the entire knife, about 6 1/4 inches, about 16 centimeters or so. The handle, looking at about 3.5 inches, about 9 centimeters. This is a small knife. This knife weighs in hand 2.3 ounces, 65.2 grams, and it's a very, very lightweight little knife. The clip is stainless steel, very deep carry pocket clip, and the locking mechanism is a liner lock. So you can see the liner springs across, the two steel liners there and there. One of them springs across and jumps onto the back of the blade tang. And then you've got a flipper deployment, which is like so. The blade is made in America and therefore has Buck's very, very well reviewed and well experienced by myself warranty. Get some size comparisons, just with some familiar knives. This is the knife versus a Rat number 1. So this will show you that it is a rather small knife. This is the knife next to a Benchmade 940, again, sort of getting towards your upper sized EDC knives. And of course a paramilitary 2 there as well. So yes, it is about 2 inches shorter than most knives in overall length, and the blade is about 1 inch shorter than most blades. So the things I like about the knife, well, you can't knock that price for a US made knife, with a little bit more attention than your standard, 30 or 30 US dollars and less knives. It's got the special heat treatment, and it's got a flipper tab, so you can sort of, it's ambitious. You don't usually see too many of these sort of compact EDC knives with flippers, so you really do get a fair bit of ambition for your money. I really like the pocket clip. This is one of the best pocket clips I've had on a knife. You can see here, because they've screwed it at the top, there's no bolts sticking out into the space there, so it really does sit on most pockets, all pockets I've tried on, really, really well. The lip here is grabby enough to get under there with just a slide down past maneuver. You don't need to be fiddling with your other hand on your pocket. It's a really, really good pocket clip, and is completely reversible. You just unscrew these, face it that way, and you're fine. I like the neutral handle. This is a small knife, so it's good when they just say, you know what, we'll just give them a bit of a stick to hold onto, and that's exactly what they've done here. There's no fancy scalloping or anything like that on this one. Just nice and neutral, keeps it simple, which is the best way to manage. It's got good lock up and engagement, so the lock is pretty solid. It's about 50-50 there, and it's no wiggle room, regardless of, even if you loosen the pivot to make the flipper a bit faster, still doesn't add any blade play or wiggle. So it's the construction is very, very sound. Another thing is obviously the US production. If you're into that for the money, it's usually paying these sort of prices for Chinese produced knives, so US produced knife, and therefore Buck's good US warranty. So you can just send it to the factory in US and they'll fix it or replace it. And I've used that warranty myself, and it is good. They fixed a knife that I broke foolishly. So the things I'm neutral about, well, the steel, price excluded, 420 HC, even with the Paul Boss heat treatment, isn't going to last a great deal of time when you are cutting EDC materials like cardboard and paper. You're going to be sharpening this knife a fair bit. It's got a bit of a cloudy sort of finish as well. It looks a little bit unfinished almost. This is pretty much how the knife came, just looking like this. Just, it's not tarnished, but it's just murky, just not a nice finish. This isn't a fancy sort of showing off knife, definitely not. Pure utility, so the steel choice and the steel appearance definitely shows you that there. Handle material, you know, it's just plastic. FRN, it's low quality, and it is, yeah, it just feels a little bit cheap. But again, these are price considerations as well. If this was a $100 knife, I'd be putting this in the fails and the dislike section. But they're just things that I feel like I need to point out, just a bit neutral on. And it is a really small knife. Feels a bit like the mini Griptilian, which I always felt was probably a little bit small again, but this one is absolutely a 3-finger knife for my larger hands. The 3rd finger has nowhere to go at all, so very much just an occasional task, a few quick cuts type blade for certain. A Manix 2, this ain't. And just the flipping action just needs a bit of work before you can get it to this stage. It just needs a bit of oil, and it just needs to break in a little bit. It's a little bit gritty, well mine was when I first got in. When you first get it, you really need to preload the flipper. That's when you push really down against it and then let it collapse to be able to flip it. Whereas now I've used a bit of nano oil and I can just flow my thumb past and it's fine. Now the things I don't like about the knife, the fails, well there's a few fit and finish issues. The main one being the grind, and it's a really uneven, wavy sort of grind. It's sharp enough. It came okay sharp, but it is a little bit, you can see it's jagged along here. So it will take a little bit of work to make that look nice again. If that's something that you're worried about, it'll sharpen, no worries, but it's just a bit uneven and a little bit ugly. So it is a bit of a fail there on the grind. They've got this choil here, which again, the ricasso there, they've kind of scuffed that a bit as well. You know, it's not ideal. It's definitely probably the main thing that I stuck out about, you know, the knife to me in terms of sticking points. And there's just a few points where the plastic and the liners don't really line up properly. And on a flipper, it can make some jaggedness, which is, you know, when you are rolling your thumb down past that flipper tab, you can sort of end up getting a bit of a, you know, a bit of a red thumb. You get some lines on there. Put up that callus, you know. If you've got working hands, you're probably not going to be too bothered. But just something I thought I'd point out. But overall, this is a great light use knife. Very low cost, and you get a lot of ambition and a lot of construction quality and design quality for your 46 Australian dollars or your 25 US dollars. In terms of competitors, I think the closest competitor to this knife would be, if you're familiar with my channel long term, you remember the Leatherman Crater C33, a very similar knife in terms of handle, materials, everything like that. It does have the extra carabiner multi-tool factor, but it's got an inferior pocket clip to this one, and it just carries a little bit worse, and it obviously isn't a flipper. So between the two of them, I'd definitely get this one. If you want something a little bit nicer in terms of steel and fit and finish, the Kaiser V3 Vigor, probably about the same size, almost exactly, and very much a very well oiled little knife. That one is very slick and smooth and well made. About an extra $30 in Australia. Or perhaps even something like the Cold Steel Mini Tough Light, which has got your more box cutter utility knife going for it, but probably another price, materials, even match, I would suggest. But if you're looking for something small, like a little gift knife for someone that you might be thinking, I might get them a knife, then the Buck Vantage Select in the small size is a good one, and I do recommend it. Now this knife is now going off to Nick Shabazz. I'm going to send it to Nick to do with his Thrifty Thursdays to see how he feels about it, because I feel pretty happy with it, and I'm always interested when I have a knife that is fairly inexpensive. I'm usually quite happy to just send it on and have the enjoyment of watching a much better knife review than myself have a look. So look forward to that, and if you haven't subscribed to Nick, by all means check his channel, but it really does work the other way. He's got about 5 times my subscription, so you're probably already knowing Nick and not knowing me, so there you go. Hello, I'm Pete. Thanks for watching my knife review channel. I'll see you later.